This episode of Lost in the Shuffle is brought to you by bcwsupplies.com. In 1993, the world was introduced to Magic the Gathering, and ever since, collectible card games have become a staple of pop culture. Games like Pokemon and Hearthstone have been a household name, but among them were a slew of games that have been cancelled, forgotten, and simply lost in the shuffle. As we approach the warmer months, we can count on those boys of summer to entertain us on the diamond. Baseball is in full swing, so what better time to talk about one of the sports games that weren't lucky enough to exit a lockout? As sports cards go, there is the standard baseball trading cards that we all know and love, ripe with statistics and highlights of our favorite players. But did you know for a brief time in the early 2000s, there was actually a Major League Baseball themed TCG? So, what happened to MLB Showdown?
Showdown allows me to collect baseball cards still and still play a game at the same time.
Showdown goes way beyond the baseball cards you're familiar with. This is head-to-head competition.
A sport so intimately linked to stats and metrics, baseball seemed like the perfect source material for a brand new game. Collectible baseball cards is a hobby that dates back to 1868. Pairing the timeless obsession of collecting baseball cards with a game development titan as Wizards of the Coast seemed like a home run idea. On February 4th, 2000s, Wizards introduced the world to MLB Showdown, a game where you could not only collect baseball cards, but field a team and play with your desired roster of all-stars. MLB Showdown sprinted out of the box with the might of Wizards marketing behind it. It won over critics, amassing many positive reviews early on, including being named 2000's Card Game of the Year by Card Trade magazine. It released a tremendous amount of sets over a less than stellar 6-year existence. With dozens of baseball sets, expansions, and boosters, MLB Showdown boasted 36 separate production releases between its opening day for sale date of April 24th, 2000 and the announcement of its cancellation on January 8th, 2006. Between this time, the game crowned 4 national champions, with a 5th left in the dust, but we'll touch upon that shortly.
Wizards of the Coast supports the Showdown sports line with an extensive array of national and local marketing programs. Print, radio, and online advertising, PR, and cross-promotions with giants like Post Cereal and MasterCard drive national awareness for the game. Over 50 Major League Baseball players have visited retail stores across the country, teaching fans to play, driving sales, and even becoming fans of MLB Showdown themselves. Tony Gwynn, Gary Sheffield, Andrew Jones, and Jason Giambi are just a few of the all-stars who've taken time to help us spread the word about this incredible new game. And fans have filled the malls for a chance to chat with their favorite players.
Riding the built-in popularity of Major League Baseball, MLB Showdown burst onto the scene with full support of the biggest stars of the game, marketing the latest entry into the budding realm of collectible card games. But that initial momentum seemed to lose steam when the game itself burned through a honeymoon phase of novelty and familiarity of the source material. The game mechanics themselves were rather basic, leading to very little latitude in expanding or building upon the game. Players built their rosters, presenting their opponents with their own starting pitcher. Pitchers would roll a d20 to determine who had the advantage, the batter or the pitcher. Once the advantage was determined, the batter would roll their own d20. The value of the d20 was then compared to the chart of players who had the advantage. Should the batter have advantage, the 16 that was rolled by Vladimir Guerrero might equate to a triple, but if Pedro Martinez is on the mound with advantage, it's a big fat out.
One team's starting pitcher heads out to the mound and the first batter steps to the plate to face him. The pitcher rolls the die. The higher the number, the better the pitch. In this case, the player rolled an 8. Add that number to the pitcher's control number, 5, to get a total of 13. Not bad. The batter's got an on-base number of 9. Since the pitcher has a higher total, he has the advantage, which means we'll look up the results on his card. The batter rolls his swing, a 13. Not great, especially since the pitcher has the advantage in this matchup. Checking the chart on the pitcher's card, we see that a 13 is a ground ball out, and the second batter steps up. This time our pitcher rolls a 3, an easy one, right across the plate. Add that to his control number of 5, and you get a total of 8. This batter's on-base number is a 10, so he has the advantage, and we'll check his chart to see what happens. The batter rolls for the swing and gets a 12. Checking his batting chart, we see that a 12's a single, putting him on first base. And that's the basics, just like baseball. 3 outs retires a side, and the best score after 9 innings wins.
On the surface, the game seemed quite shallow, but more layered rules introduced pitching rotations, salary caps, and other caveats to deliver the feeling that you were generally managing a big league club of your own hand-picked superstars. At the root, however, it was a game determined by just how favorable the gods of RNG smiled upon you that day. It was a dice-rolling game that operated within a very rigid rule set that offered very little latitude and creativity of play. There wasn't much room for risky plays, as outcomes were all locked and loaded within the fateful D20 you would blow on for good luck. The problems haunting this game weren't in the beautiful card designs, which truly encompass the look and familiarity of a baseball card, but rather in how the game operated within its very stats-heavy rule set. If anything, MLB Showdown was too true to the game it meant to emulate. Common critique about baseball these days is that the analytics has robbed the game of much of its age-old charm. The same can be said about MLB Showdown, where feeding the numbers to the analytics monster would spit out ideal lineups based on their output to cost ratios. If players had a cost against a salary cap, then building a lineup that was least likely of generating outs became a simple math equation that even Billy Beane would envy.
Tournaments provide many of the same benefits as retail leagues, but pack the fun into a one-day event. The first ever MLB Showdown National Championship was a featured activity at the 2001 John Hancock Major League Baseball All-Star Fan Fest. The top 24 MLB Showdown players around the country participated in this exciting event, and winners from 15 regional tournaments were flown to Seattle to square off. After 3 days of intense competition, Scott Forrester emerged as the MLB Showdown National Champion.
It's just fantastic to be able to play the best players in the country and find out, if my team's good enough. You don't really know until you put it up against on the line at the regionals, at the nationals, and find out if you've got the stuff.
Organized play by Wizards of the Coast lasted between 2001 and 2005. 4 national champions were crowned over those years, along with many regional winners taking home their share of glory and prizes. No final champion was declared on the heels of Wizards' January 2006 announcement that they'd be discontinuing the game, leaving many who were in the hunt for their very own pennant out to dry. The 2005 national champions were awarded to 4 players in an agreed-upon prize split. So when we ask the question, will MLB Showdown ever return? Well, it still exists in a certain way. Today, MLB Showdown has a small yet loyal following, with versions of the game available on programs like Tabletop Simulator. Fans have created their own leagues, updated player statistics, and released new cards of their own design to keep up with the ever-changing roster of MLB teams. Many have found memories of the game, being able to fulfill fantasies of owning their own baseball team while testing your managerial instincts on the makeshift baseball diamond that you unfold on your kitchen table. Speaking of baseball cards, this episode of Lost in the Shuffle is sponsored by BCW Supplies, our go-to source for protecting our prized collectibles. From cards to comics to coins, BCW Supplies has top-tier options to store, protect, and show off your rarest gems. Head over to bcwsupplies.com and use the code ISP10 to get 10% off your order, every order. BCW Supplies. Protect, store, display.